Hello everyone, and welcome back to another video with your favorite guy, Mawu the Patient. Okay, so a lot of you guys have asked me these couple of days, couple of weeks, how are we able to heal through all the damage and all the different mechanics coming in the new Mythic Plus dungeons in 11.1 Undermined? And I figured, why not just take a talk about what rotations, what spells, and what everything that Resto Druids can actually bring into a dungeon, and why we're maybe looking at a season where we're going to be S tier because of all this group-wide damage, the 2 target damage, and all this coming in the new dungeons. So yeah, grab a cup of coffee, lay back, and let's get over everything with Resto Druid. All the spells, the rotations, why we do as we do, and how we're going to heal every one of the new dungeons. I hope you're ready for it. As per usual, this is my personal preference. This is how I play the spec. There's a billion ways to play the spec these days. This is how I do it. So there's no master plan behind it. This is just how I like to play the spec and what I do to heal these new dungeons. So yeah, let's just dive right into it, guys. Okay, so first off, let's take a look here. So now we're in the follower dungeon, so I can just show you what I'm doing here. So the first thing I do in every dungeon is that I do Mark of the Wild on everyone, or versatility buff. Really nice, 3%. A lot of the top keys pushing want those 3% versatility. In the lower keys it doesn't really matter, but it's a buff and we use it. After that, what I want to do is I want to click the tank, and in my macros and in my setup, I want to do set focus, okay? I use set focus macros on my life bloom and on my ward. So that's why I wanted to set focus, because now you can see without me, I can even look at this guy. I can look at the shaman and just click my life bloom and it will still go on the tank here. You can see it on the UI. All my UIs and all the weak auras and the setup, you can find that in my weak aura pack, by the way. So yeah, what I usually do is just tag it here, set focus. I can ward him as well, you can see down here. Buffing up, and then use the new spell here, Symbiotic Relationship. I usually use that on a tank. We haven't used it much yet, but we will take a look into that. We are also going to do the missing up here. Bloom up. We're gonna be able to see it up here if it's missing. I'm just gonna fix that and update it. But yeah, that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna do Mark of the Wild into the Symbiotic Relationship, most likely on tank. Maybe there's some scenarios where you use it on a weak DPS, but from now I'm just gonna use it on the tank, okay? Then what we wanna do when we get into combat, I'm just gonna show you here, is we wanna do Efflow. We wanna put down Efflorescence in a spot where we can heal most people. Why we're doing this is because the spell in itself actually does healing to us, but it also gives us Spring Blossom. I'm gonna show you here. And this is just a free hot coming all the time for everyone in the efflorescence. These words. I know you love me, guys, with these words. The Spring Blossom just gives us a free point of mastery. The mastery, we're gonna get back to that later, but it gives us a free point. And that's a very nice thing to do before the pull. You're just gonna pop that down, and it's gonna be there for 30 seconds, okay? So that's the first thing we want to do. Second, what we want to do is we're gonna keep our life blooms up. And I know this is a very discussed point. So there's a lot of guides saying you should do life bloom on 2 DPS and just leave yourself in the tank out. There's some people saying you need to do it on tank and then DPS. There's a lot of different ways to go about this. What I've been discussing with you guys on Discord and also on my YouTube is that personally I like to keep it on the tank and I like to keep it on myself. Can I do it on myself, please? Thank you. So that's what I usually do. I keep it on the tank for just survivability, and also because we have, let me just find it here, right here. This one, the talent that gives us 3 stacks of mastery on our target, is really strong for the tank healing that is coming in the next season. So it feels safer. That's why I like to have it on myself and on the tank, just as a regular thing, okay? That's what I usually do. Only on big single target DPS things I can think about, like Dawnbreaker, where you had the AoE thing go out on 2 people.
Bloom up.
Or yes, some of the older things where you had a lot of damage in Dawnbreaker as well in the church, where you had the void debuff. Then you can put your life bloom on, but usually I just keep them on the tank and myself. And why I'm keeping it on the same target is if there's any one of you, We're gonna get back to talents later. Sorry about that. But if there's someone running the button leaves talent here, what this actually does is it increases your healing 6% each time it heals, up to 90%. Okay. Also increase the life bloom's final bloom by 15%. So what this means is that if you keep your life bloom up on a target for a longer period of time, this will increase up to 90% of the healing, okay? And in most scenarios, I just like having it on myself and having it on tank because it just feels more safe. When you have it on yourself and tank, you can also, you can also regrowth people. You can regrowth your DPS, and at the same time as this talent does, you can also get the regrowth on yourself. So I rarely use regrowth on tank or myself. I just use it on DPS who needs help, and I'm gonna get the regrowth buff myself. So that's a really cool thing to also notice that. And if I do it on 2 DPS, I will probably regrowth myself. A very nice talent that not many Resto Druids actually know about. This one also applies to the living life bloom targets. And that's why we're still running 2 life blooms over here, sorry. We're still running 2 life blooms. A bit reduced healing, but it's so strong with the talents I just showed you. Another point of having a life bloom on yourself is that your hearts actually heal 10% faster when it's on yourself. And yes, when there's on other people, there's a chance that your bloom will, what does it say? On your it has a 4% chance to bloom. I get that, but I just feel like it's so much more safe. So just what I was saying is that I like to have it on tank, and I like to have it on myself. That's just what I like to do here. Okay. Next up, I want to do ward. I want to do Cenarian ward. Usually I do it on tank, and down here in my UI you can actually see it's a 32 second cooldown, okay? And it's only 20% cooldown for myself. So usually before a pull, I can actually get 2 wards out. So now we have it on tank. I can even extend it if I want with swiftness. I'm gonna use ward on myself or on a DPS here. And if I have healing on here, I can actually extend it as well. So this is what I usually do. We run with this, and you usually want to do that before going into a pull. You want to ward yourself, or you want to ward and prio target, okay? If you are in a heavy AoE situation, you want to do it on the weakest DPS in your group. That makes sure that, a guy with, you can see here on my screen now, because it's bots, I don't see the UI. I can put in a link here. But you can also see the personals. If he's running low on defensives or on personals, I would usually prioritize warding that target, okay? That would be the play for me. So after you used efflorescence, you use life blooms on 2 targets, you ward it on someone. Let's say we ward on Hunter because he's low on cooldowns. What you want to do there is I want to just prior some targets. I want to do some regrowths. Just spread the regrowths here. You can see I get it myself here. Use some rejuice, the rejuvenation. If you want to, it's kind of a filler. I had a lot of comments on YouTube why I don't use rejuve that much. I will use it in heavy AoE situations, but mostly I won't use it as well. It's the same. It's the last spell in my prioritized row that I would use here. So what I want to do before a big AoE here is that I want to efflorescence. I want a life bloom on 2 targets. I want a ward. A bit of regrowths here. I'm gonna use bark skin on myself. Iron bark on someone else than the ward target. You can see it here. And then what I want to do is that I want to just spam heal. When I'm 1 global off, I'm gonna do wild growth into the healing. I want to use swiftments to make that longer. And I'm just gonna stand there and healing. Okay. So what's going to actually help you survive these ticks are that you're having every one of these things down. Make people stand in your efflorescence. Keep your life blooms up. Keep your wards up. And in the last second before the AoE comes, you do wild growth into treants. You can pop your treants here. And then just start spamming regrowths.
Bloom up.
Look at people personals. If they're dying in this, I would most likely say that they need to use more of their own spells, okay, of their own personals. A lot of people saying, like, when you park these different groups, that people are also standing in swirlies and taking unnecessary damage. So you need to use some of your defensives or some of your spells like Convoke early on. But for the heavy AoE, this is our go-to, okay? Another thing you can do by yourself is, if people are going to survive, a very, very nice personal that you always have on hand as a Resto Druid is that you can bark skin and then go into bear form. So what is good for bear form here is that we run this talent, Urson Vigor, that after 4 seconds into swifting into bear form actually gives us 15% extra health and armor. So what you want to do about that is you want to go into the form, take the damage and go out again. And you're gonna be super healthy because the damage reduction is so big also when you're in bark, also when you use bark skin. So yeah, that's basically what I want to do here. If we take big AoE damage, that's what I usually do. Then you also have Convoke. I usually use Convoke offensively, but it's a bit of a thought process, okay? Because usually when I run the keys, or in Season 1 and on the PTR, I use it only offensively, but there will be situations where you need to use it defensively. And you've seen me do that in some of my keys and some of my guides, where I've used it defensively because I had to. Okay? So if people are running low and you know there's a big AoE coming, you need to top off people. You need to top everyone off, and then you can use your Convoke to help doing that. For your Convoke, I would 100% recommend you to macro it into also using your nature's swiftness. Okay, so what this is going to do is, I'm just going to read it here, is that your regrowths will have hold on, a 200% extra additional healing. Okay, so that means that every regrowth that you get in your Convoke will actually heal for an additional 200%. Which is pretty cool because you're actually going to get a lot of regrowth in your Convoke. So what you want to do there is just Nature Swiftness into Convoke. And I did this, no channeling effect, because there's a lot of things here that can channel. Or cancel, sorry. That can cancel the effect, and I don't want that. I've been doing so many videos where I actually cancel my Convoke in the worst possible time, and I don't want that anymore. So yeah. I think that's about it. That's what I usually do. So just to take it again, I do Mark of the Wild, Symbiotic Relationship on the tank. We can just go into combat here. I do double Life Bloom. We'll do Ward, Regrowths, Airflow down, Wild Growth, and here I would usually just go into damage, right? This dies super fast. And that's what we're doing here. Remember to use your treants, also really, really important. If you're running the Wildstalker talent tree here, I'm actually not expect into anything here. If you're using the Wildstalker talent tree here, most of the time, your treants would just be a filler, okay? They're off the global CD, so you can just use them. You can spam clicking and get everyone out. If you're running the other talent that I'm going to show you later, the Keeper build, it gives you a percentage healing bonus. So you need to keep them for situations where you actually need the treants. But in the Wildstalker, you just kind of use them on cooldown. Always use them when there's damage coming, because it's just a passive healing. So yeah, for the cooldown, I think that's it. I hope that it gave some clarification to some of you. I know it was a bit rushed maybe, but the most important thing is just keeping your life blooms up, keeping your wards up, using your spells correctly. I'm gonna do the order for you in the video so you can see exactly what order I do the different things. And yeah, I think that's just it. So let's move on to the talents. Okay, so for talents, I just want to quickly talk to you about the Wildstalker. So I mentioned it in my earlier video as well, but I'm just going to show you the Wildstalker here, and in a moment we're going to get back to the Keeper build. So what's most important about this build is that we're running Heart of the Wild, of course. We're running Circle of the Wild because we're going to do physical damage. And yeah, you can see it on your screen here. Not much different than the Restoration Druid tree as well. We're just running exactly what we used to do. So for offensive situations on Wildstalker, what you want to actually do here... Okay, everything's dead. What you want to do here is you want to go into cat form, and before a pull, so we're going to do the exact same. We're going to do the Mark of the Wild, Life Bloom up, Ward on one target, F-flow down where you think you're going to be. You're going to go into cat form, you're going to go into stealth, you're going to go into prowl. And why you're going to do this is because of this talent. You're actually going to increase your critical strike damage by 8% for 6 seconds by doing this. And it also stuns. It stuns for 4 seconds, and it also does 60% additional damage. So it's just a great opener. If you can prio do it on a caster target, then you're actually going into stun the caster target, and in actually a really good shape because of all the damage. What you want to do here is you want to go in, you want to wild charge in, stun it. You can do Rake to spread your dots, gonna go out, Moonfire, Sunfire, go back in, and you're gonna use Convoke while your Heart of the Wild is still active. This will be such amazing damage. And as I told you before in my old videos, you can go back and watch that Wildstalker versus Keeper. Still a lot of good pointers. What you want to do with Wildstalker is you primarily want to spread bleeds, okay? You want to do Rake, and on 3 to 4 combo points you want to do Rip, and you also want to spread your trash. So we can fly over here. What your biggest rotation is that you want 5 debuffs on your main target, okay? You want your Rake, you want your Trash, you want your Rip, you want your Sunfire, and your Moonfire. Then you're good to go. That will be so much damage. I'm gonna show you here. We can go on these guys over here. Cat form. I would do Life Bloom. Let's see if he's here. Life Bloom. Ward. Airflow. Gonna go into stealth here. Charge in. I'm gonna stun him. Gonna trash.
Bloom up.
Gonna go here. Spreading.
Bloom up.
Rip. Into out. Sunfire. Moonfire. Cat form. And Convoke. That would most likely be like 9 out of 9 things I would do here. 9 out of 10, sorry. 9 out of 10 situations, that would be what I was going to do here. Okay? Remember to use your trees as well. I'm forgetting this all the time. But I'm getting into it. The other talent build I wanted to show you, because a lot of people of you ask me, but Chike, if we're playing lower keys, just playing for fun, and Keeper looks better for me, this would be the Keeper build for you, okay? I'm just going to swap in here. You can see the difference. The only difference over here is this talent instead of this one. And we're only running this because your Growth Guardians are now super strong because you're running the Keeper of the Growth. Where's the talent? Your Growth Guardians. Oh, right there. So what you want to remember as a Keeper player is that you need to prioritize your treants more, because while they're active you're increased 5% healing. So sometimes you actually want to hold on to those right before the DPS, the AoE DPS comes, where we talked about the AoE combo earlier in the video. With all the AoE coming, you want to keep your treants and actually just pop them right before the AoE comes, so every one of your hearts will heal more. So what we're doing here is that we're away from cat form. You're never going to go into cat form again. We're spec'd into Circle of the Heavens, so we're actually spec'd into Boomkin damage now. Boomkin hype! This is so cool. I love every part of this. So we're spec'd into Boomkin form as I would probably go this. As a DPS spec here. Or our DPS thing. Thank you, Flap. Other than that, I usually don't recommend people running Skull Bash. Okay, so the thing about Skull Bash is that you need to be in cat form or bear form to actually use it. And in lower keys, if you're running Moonkin form and not running the cat form, you rarely go in and kick things, okay? So I would do more like this talent right here, or rerunning Star Search in this build as well for more damage, and yeah. So that's the talent build I'm using for Keeper. What you want to know about Keeper as well is that if you're running Life Bloom on 2 targets, every time you regrowth twice, you're gonna get an instant Starfire. The Blooming Infusion right here. And that's a very, very cool feature, because your Blooming Infusion and your Starfire actually directly transfers into healing with Dream of the Scenarios. Dream of the Scenarios doesn't transfer healing from your bleeds. So this is where Keeper of the Growth actually gets a bit stronger than Wildstalker, sorry. Because all your damage from your Starfire and Wraths will directly transfer into healing. So every time you cast, if you keep your Life Blooms up, every time you cast 2 regrowths, you're gonna get an instant Starfire here. I can go in and use it here. Boom. So that's a super cool feature. I'm gonna go into bear form or into owl form here. I'm gonna Convoke, and I get one more. The only negative thing I have to say about this is that as I was testing, yes, you can get Starfall, you can get Full Moons.
Chill.
But in this Keeper build, your Convoke will most likely only be defensive. Because your offensive Convoke in Moonkin form just feels a bit meh. in my opinion. It just feels weak, okay? So usually when you're running this build, and when you're running lower keys, you will need to use your Convoke more for healing, so that it fits really good to the build. But yeah, that's the two different builds that I'm running, and their defensive way of this is basically just using a Star Search, go into combat. I'm just gonna get Star Search down. Hold on. You go into combat here. You will. I need 8 seconds here. I'm gonna look at this guy. What you want to do here is you want to spread your Sunfire. You want to spread your Moonfire. Then you want to Star Search to proc your Heart of the Wild or your Call of the Elder Druid. And then you just want to spam Starfires to get healing off, okay? Boom. Just standing here. You can try to use a Convoke in the end, see if the DPS raises, but you can see. Okay, 100k more, but still, it's not worth it. Maybe on like really big pulls, but still, just spamming Starfires just does more healing because of streaming the scenarios and just feels better, okay? So yeah, this is how I am thinking that I am going to heal the 11.1. In both spec. I'm probably gonna stick with Wildstalker for a while because I like the playstyle. I like going into cat form, spreading those bleeds, having a bit of, I don't know, a bit of more interesting rotation with that. But I think both specs will be pretty good. So yeah, without further ado, we're 2 days away. Maybe if I'm editing this slow, maybe 1 day. But 1 to 2 days away from the new season. I'm very excited. I'm so happy to see everyone down there. If I missed anything about the healer rotation, the important spells, please let me know down in the comments. Or join me on Discord so we can talk about every change that will come in 11.1. And let's just hope that Resto Druid will be S tier. I hope we will be meta, getting into those high keys and getting those done. But without further ado, guys, I think this was the video. I love you guys so much, and thank you so much for all the support you're showing me. And I guess I'll just see you in the next season. We're gonna do so many high keys, we're gonna do so much fun content, and I can't wait. Alright guys, I see you, in the next one. Yay! They all left me, what?